Okay, let the games commence. Some of the stuff I'm going to need: a nice sharp centre punch, which that definitely is not, so I'm going to sharpen that. I'll show you that. Well, do I need to show you? I just put this in a drill, use a flappy disc on the grinder, get that needle sharp, if it'll fucking focus, and then heat it up with a blow lamp and quench it so it's rock hard. You need a really needle sharp centre punch. If you don't understand why, I'll show you in a second. And then other stuff I'm potentially going to need. I'm going to need some cutting fluid. Can't emphasise enough, really good quality, super sharp drill bits. If you're fucking about with blunt drill bits, you're just wasting your time. Potentially going to need 6mm helicoils. Maybe, maybe not. Tap driver, some 6mm taps, more drill bits. Yeah, and then decent drill, flappy disc grinder. And then what I'm going to do first, it'll focus under there, is I'm going to use my flappy disc and I'm going to flatten off the heads of these bolts down to this gasket surface. Reason I'm doing that, and I'm not just flattening them, is you really need to, how to put this, so there are multiple opportunities to fuck this up. Ask me how I know. The first one being, you've got to get your centre punch for when you start drilling as perfectly central in these bolts as possible. If you get it right, get your centre punch right and start your drilling at the right angle and right in the centre of the bolt. If you get it perfect, you'll get to a point where you're just at the right size drill bit and you can get your sharp centre punch and you can just peel out. There's a tiny bit of the bolt left and you can just peel it out of the way. If that fails, then you go oversize with the next size up drill bit or a helicoil size drill bit, and then you helicoil them. But ideally, we're just trying to get these bolts out without damaging the thread in the exhaust pipe. That's the gold standard of repair, if you like. So let's get these flappy discs off so it's nice and flat. Sharpen a centre punch and get a really good central centre punch mark in these three, and then we can start drilling. Okay. Okay, right, so the reason for doing that is I really want to be able to identify the centre of these bolts. So I've cleaned, that makes sense, right? Oh, and then the other OCD thing, grinding dust is like the most hideous fucking thing to have in a workshop, especially if you're an engine builder. So, well, you know how OCD clean I am, but try and contain your grinding dust. Just hang a piece of rag or something so it doesn't fucking go everywhere. Anyway, that's just me ranting. Get your better look at that. You get the idea. So I can now, I mean, not super precisely, but I can identify the exact centre of the bolt. So I can centre punch it and I've got half a chance. I think you know what I'm saying. Right, let's sharpen a centre punch, do a little bit of tappy and get drilling. Cherry red. I know what you're all thinking. Thinking, fucking hell, Jim, you're making a meal out of this, mate, aren't you? Yeah, I probably am, but I need a sharp centre punch, and I don't have one. Trust me, this is not my first rodeo. Getting these steps right, fucking that's getting hot now in my hands. Getting these steps right, so getting a nice sharp centre punch in the centre of the bolt, getting your drill started perfectly. These are where it sounds like a simple thing to do, doesn't it? Centre punch a bolt and drill it out. You would not believe how many people manage to fuck it up. You've just got to pay attention and not just wade in and think, oh, I've got to fucking drill a drill bit. I'm just going to drill it out, it'll be easy. And the fucking drill goes off on the piss and you've wrecked the fucking exhaust pipe or the cylinder head or whatever it is you're trying to drill. So don't just wade in. Every single thing you do needs to be considered and methodical. Just pay attention, because if you don't, you know, if you make a mistake, you've then got to go back and try and undo your mistake, and that's going to take you 10 times longer. Ask me how I know. Right, let's centre punch these bolts. Let's get drilling. Tappy, tappy, tap, tap. Okay, that's those 3 centre punched. I've got myself all set up. The devil's in the detail with these things. So I've got a nice bright light. The workbench is high. I've got a stool to sit on, so it's at a comfortable height. I was thinking of an analogy. It's a bit like when you, if any of you weld, you know what it's like when you're fucking upside down, hanging by one leg in the dark, trying to weld something. The weld's never as good as when you're on a bench. You're comfortable, you're set up. You've had a couple of passes with a torch just to get your eye in. You get a perfect weld, don't you? So it's that sort of detail that separates the average job from the top drawer job. So just, yeah, make your life as easy as physically possible, even if it takes you a little bit more time to get set up. So I've got a nice bright light, I'm on my stool, nice sharp drill bit, some cutting fluid. Let's drill. These 2, this is a blind hole, and these you can get to the back of them. So this top corner one here, these were always the worst to do, because you, anyway. Let's not talk about it, let's get it done. So initially, not that I'm teaching you how to drill a hole, but just start it, and then you can, you know this if you've ever drilled a hole in something, the very first sort of little bit of a mark you make with a drill bit, if you think you're not in the centre, you can walk the drill bit round a little bit and get yourself lined up perfectly before you start getting on it. So that's the technique. That looks dead centre to me. You're right in the way though, I'm afraid. What I really need to do is go and get my other camera with a long lens so you can be behind me, but close up, if you see what I mean. But it's Sunday and I can't be arsed, so sorry. I'm going to drill these out. I'll bring you in periodically. Okay, so first pass with a 3.5mm drill bit. These 2 are absolutely dead nuts on. That one is slightly off centre, which is a little bit annoying. I don't know why it's always that top one that's a pain in the ass. Anyway, what to say, I don't want to turn this into a how to drill a hole video, but when you've got to eyeball it vertically and horizontally, so I'm looking in from this side and trying to look down as much as I can, because you can't just, you'll think, oh, I'm definitely on target here in terms of the angle, and then when you look from the side you're like fucking way out. So again, just pay attention, try and get your angles perfect. And there's a certain amount of old-fashioned skill involved, if you like. You just, fucking hell, what to say, you develop a skill for this sort of thing over the years. When you've done it enough, your spider senses will tell you when to stop and recheck, and you understand. Right, I need to stop waffling about this and get it done. So I'm gonna take these out to 5.5mm. Maybe that one to 5mm, because I don't want to break into the thread on the other side, on the top, because it's slightly off centre. And then what we can do is we can get the centre punch. We can try and fold the bolts in on themselves. I'll try and film it if I can, because as I said, the ideal scenario is you get the broken bolt out and you leave the original thread intact, so you haven't got a helicoil. And just clean it, run a tap through it, clean it up, and then it's good to go. Let me get that done, I'll bring you back in. Get the angle of the dangle correct, because you only get one fucking go. Ooh, caught the rag there on the inside. Fucking marvellous. Might go out slightly bigger and get a centre punch on this end and try and collapse it in. Right, okay, so I've taken these bolts out, these holes out rather, to 5.5mm. Now if you're really lucky and you are dead centre with your initial drilling, you can, what am I trying to say? You know, I said you can collapse them in with a centre punch. I usually end up doing that. if I'm slightly off centre. So I did that with this top one. There's a few apprentice marks around here, but the thread's good. I've just had a tap down here. These were dead centre, which has allowed me, hang on, let me wash this. So what I'm doing, guys, off camera, is I'm brake cleanering out the hole, and I'm washing the schmoo off the tap with brake cleaner. I'm not rushing, and then every time I go back in with a tap, I've got a little tub of cutting fluid here. Put the tap in the cutting fluid, and we'll go again. Should probably have blown it off with an airline then. Get rid of that brake cleaner. But I'm just doing a little bit of a cut, because you really don't want to snap the tap off. Because if you do, don't fucking ring me, because I can't save you. So yeah, you just keep pecking away at it and cleaning out that thread little by little. Just get an airline in there quickly. Oh my fucking god! I suppose it is fair enough. I did use the airline. It's entitled to... Come on. Focus, focus. Don't fucking cross thread it. Thank you. Pretty much all the way through, I think. You can just feel the end of the tap. There's a very strong argument too for having really good quality taps. Anything you can do to stop the tap from, excuse me, or reduce the chances of the tap breaking off, the better as far as I'm concerned. Now then, I need to see, I'm not going to show you the drilling out of the bolts in that broken in the cover that goes on here. It's basically this process, but just in the mill, just so I can hold it exactly in the right place. It just makes it easier if you can hold the work still, and you've got a nice stubby drill bit, you know, it doesn't wander around. Just easy peasy. So that's that done. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of it. A little bit of an insight into a repair like this. I think I've got the hardware I need, the genuine Yamaha stuff. Pretty sure I got it in stock. This job I'm doing now was a regular occurrence back in the day. I'll also be, guys, for those of you that are worrying, all the schmoo in the exhaust pipe, I'll be brake cleaner-ing it out, and then what I usually do is I put my vacuum cleaner in there. And yeah, you really don't want any swarf in there. You might think that the exhaust will blow it out, but not necessarily, because of pressure waves in the exhaust pipe and stuff. Might suck it back to the exhaust valves, and we really don't want that. So yeah, there's a big cleaning operation to be done. There we go, we're all the way now. There's a big cleaning operation to be done once I've finished. Anyway, that's that. Do I need to show you putting it back together? I'll show you when it goes back together. There's a adjusting the cables and stuff. And then after that, we're on the home straight. It's all the bodywork back on. Bit more of a clean possibly, and then, excuse me, then a road test. Right, see you later. And yes, before you put it in the comments, I do know there are different types of taps, plugs, tapers, etc. Okay, as you were, here's another tip for you. Only for a minute, mind, or until we hear your dad coming up the stairs. This is worth the price of admission right here. So this valve, which is seized, this bush here, this shaft is seized inside here, as you know. This valve piece is £450. Still available from Yamaha, but it would probably be intergalactic back order if you wanted to order one. Now then, it's very tempting to put this in the vise and try and rotate this piece to break it free. Don't do that. I speak from experience here. What will happen, you'll put a twist. Imagine this twisting here. Basically, this bush, these are very, very, not very, very tight. These are quite tight tolerances, this bush here and this bush here. If you put any sort of twist in this piece, you'll put these two bushes out of plane, if that makes sense. And they're a C-bomb of a job to get them back lined up. The only way you can successfully do it really is to put this end in a vise, in the lathe, and then clock the other end of it and just keep tweaking it till you get it to run true. They're a nightmare, and I made the mistake once of twisting, and yeah, there's a story. So the way to do them is you need to press it out without doing any turnage. So I've got this little jobby here, look. So this fits perfectly inside there, spreads the load all the way round on this bracket, you understand, right? And this way, it's pretty straightforward to get them out. This has been, while we were messing around getting those broken bolts out, this has been bathing in GT85 for an hour or so. Although it's seized, as you can see, it's not really much of a match for a press, is it? Let's get something else under there. Isn't this what sockets were made for? Line it up properly would help. Is that going to be enough? Yep. There you go. So we haven't disturbed. And if it wasn't clear, if you do, in my last waffle, if you get these, if you twist these so these two are out of plane, you'll find that the valve at some point in its movement will bind, and the servo motor is current sensing, so it's very easy. If there's any sort of resistance in this valve, as I think you saw maybe in part one, when you turn the ignition on, the reason that servo motor does the zzz, zzz thing is it's checking the movement of this valve from one extremity to the other. If it senses too much load, it gives you a fault code effectively, which is the dash, without getting into it, the rev counter goes, I think it's, is it 7,500 revs and back down again to tell you there's a problem with the servo. Anyway, waffleage. So that's that. This just needs cleaning up with a little bit of Scotch-Brite, and the same down in this hole where this bush runs. Don't need to get, you know, too carried away. Just clean the surface up. We'll put a load of copper grease on it, and I know the copper grease will get burnt away, but it makes a difference. Those copper particles will stay, and it helps a lot. Technically it runs, you know, it just runs completely dry, because any lube you put on here, it gets so hot down in the exhaust pipe, it's going to get burnt away. But from past experience with these things, a bit of copper grease on here and on this bush on the other end and around this face and on all the bolts. So long as you do that every time you service the bike, you know, every 6,000 miles or so, or even every other service, which one with one of these is, the service schedules on these were 4,000 miles. So like if you took this out off every 8,000 mile, bit of copper grease on the bolts and stuff, you'll never have a problem. It's just this was never, look, even it's free already, just the fact that I've taken it apart and put it back together again. It doesn't take much to seize them up, because as I said, the tolerances are quite tight. Fucking hell, waffling. Right, I'm going to need to find the hardware to put it back together, and also, as you know, this has got 2 broken bolts in, so I'll address that, because that's an expensive part. This is £450. I think from memory this got discontinued anyway, so you wouldn't be able to find one. Right, waffleage, I'll get these bolts out, let's get a load of new hardware, let's put it together. I'll show you the cable adjustment quickly, get the bodywork on, let's go ride it. I'm not even sure whether you're interested in this or not, but just getting these bolts out of here, this one has snapped off at a real angle, and even with a, you know, a real stubby strong drill bit, it's walking the drill bit sideways. So I've got this clocked So it's in this engineer's vise, using this gasket surface to true it, and then it's clocked in so it's exactly in the centre of that hole. And I've just got a little 6mm 4-flute end mill, and I'm just gonna, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna touch down on here and clean, you know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna touch down on this broken stud, so we've got a nice flat surface to drill from, drill off of, like so. Drill bit next. Okay, that makes me happy. Good way to end a Sunday when you don't actually want to be working. So drilled and tapped the two that were, whichever two it was, drilled and tapped. So drilled just undersized, 5.5mm, run a tap through them, come out lovely. That's that done. And then obviously these three, same story. So the fact that they've all been repaired without the need for a helicoil, that is a win as far as I'm concerned. I just need the genuine Yamaha bolts to put this together. I'm sure if it was an apocalyptic situation I could find some hardware to bolt this together, but my OCD is telling me it all needs to be genuine Yamaha bits, and I haven't got them. I thought I had some, but I haven't. So they're on order. They're going to come the day after tomorrow. It's Sunday now. I've placed the order. I'll get them Tuesday morning, and then this can go together. And for those of you that I triggered by going at this with a flappy wheel, I've had a file on this, a nice flat file, just polished it off on the top. It's all nice and flat and true, so don't panic. It's all lovely jubbly. That's that. Wait for these bits to arrive. Next time you see me, we'll be riding this, hopefully. Thanks, guys. Okay guys, road testy time. Got a slightly better option for camera placement on this one, because it's got a foam mount on the top yoke, which I can clamp to. If you wonder what I'm talking about, there's another R1 video that you might not have seen, which I think was live either last week or a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember the order that these videos are going out in. Okay. Oh shit, you know what I haven't... Oh no, I have done tyre pressures. That was the very first thing I did. Right, onwards. Not the choke off. Should probably warm it up a bit. Just go nice and steady. Although it does feel a little bit like the front tyre's flat the way it's steering. Can't remember what pressure I put in it. I must have... Well, I definitely put air in it. Maybe I didn't actually check the pressure. Oh, fucking hell, the camera's moved. Can you see all right, guys? This might be a bit of a problem. Hang on a minute, I better stop. The phone mount that I've clamped to is a little bit all over the place. Oh God, is this not going to work then? Houston, we might have a problem here. Okay, let's see how that goes. I might have to move you. I've taken the lens guards off my camera too, because it was interfering with the sort of stitch line. Anyway, you don't want to know about that, so I don't really want to bash the lens on anything. I think when it tips forward it's going to hit the screen. Anyway, talk about the motorbike. I don't know what to say. It's an R1 like the other one. So far the fueling feels nice. Interesting little job, this one. definitely going to cut, if this, oh, that camera's going to whack the screen, isn't it? I'm going to cut the this road test short for you guys and put the camera in my pocket. If it runs okay, which it appears to be, I'll say goodbye fairly swiftly, because this camera mount is a bit dodge. Why is the oil light on the dashboard? I know there's the correct amount of oil in it. Interesting. Right, hang on a minute, I'm going to stop around this corner. Slightly worrying. So the oil light, don't panic guys, the oil light's on, but with these things it's not a pressure light, it's a level light, which often causes a little bit of concern. That is a bit weird, isn't it? Okay, knock that off. Let's just check for leaks. Hopefully not. And let's see if I can see it in the sight glass. We might have a dodgy oil level switch. Yeah, it's in the sight glass. Okay, that's a bit weird. I think I've probably got a dodgy oil level switch. Okay guys, thanks for watching. You know the drill, like and subscribe if you can. And if you really want to, you can become a patron, link in the description. That gives you access to the Discord, which in my humble opinion is the best motorcycle repair group on the internet. Thanks for watching guys. See you soon.